So a lot of my guests on this channel know a thing or two about fragrances, and I've been shy of using or bringing sexy girls on the channel because I feel like if I bring somebody that doesn't know many fragrances, but all they know is how to look sexy or beautiful with big breasts and things like that, I feel like it's going to kind of like diminish the value of this channel. So I've stayed away from bringing guests like that. But if you're interested, and if I can find somebody that knows a thing or two about fragrances and notes and yada yada, and is sexy and has big boobs, and you want to see her.
If someone could start a channel with a lady with big boobs who really knew about fragrances, they could really clean up. Welcome back to all of you in the Smelly Army. So tonight I'm going to be joined by my lovely girlfriend Claire from the Smurfygurly channel, and we're going to be talking about vintage fragrances. And I wanted to do a top 5 vintage fragrances video again. Forgive me, because when I say top 5, I've done a few of these and it's just the top 5 that I'm thinking about at the moment, most of which I haven't talked about before, so it's a way to get more people to watch the video. They are all really good, but I've got 5 or 10 different top 5s of vintage fragrances that I like, and so there you go. So let's have a look. These are some that I'm really excited about, and I kind of feel like Claire's not going to like them so much because you tend not to like the old school 70s, 50s, 80s masculine fragrances as much as me.
True.
Right?
Yeah.
So that makes it a load of fun. So here we go. First up, we're going to have Paco Rabanne Poron, and this is the fragrance originally from 1973, which was the flagship men's fragrance from the house of Paco Rabanne. And I have a vintage formula here. It's not the first vintage from the 70s. I think it's sometime in the 80s. It doesn't have a barcode on the box, and that tells us it's, I think, pre-91 or around about that time that everything started to have a barcode on it. So it's real old juice, and I've got it in a sprayer here. So I've pre-sprayed some on a card, and Claire's going to give us her opinion. So this one has notes including rosemary, clary sage, rosewood, tonka bean, lavender, geranium, honey, musk, oak moss. One of the original aromatic fougere fragrances, certainly in the designer game. So kind of a barbershop fragrance, and definitely not something that you would find released by a designer house today.
Okay.
We've got some on there, so it's got real oak moss, a lot of ingredients that are not allowed to be included today. What do you think about that one, Claire?
Yeah, it does smell really old-fashioned.
Doesn't it?
It reminds me of Brut or...
Yes, Brut, yeah, a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of rugged and sort of thing that my dad might have worn back when I was 5.
Yeah, which would be, well, let's say that we both grew up in the 80s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't find it unpleasant. It's just it does have that old-fashioned connotation. Which,
what kind of images does it conjure up in your mind?
Lumberjack shirts.
Oh right, okay, yep. So does it smell masculine?
Yeah, 100%.
More masculine than some modern releases?
Modern releases for men these days are pretty girly, if you ask me.
Right. So at least it has that going for it.
It definitely has that. It's just a bit rugged, and it does. I can't help but think it smells a bit cheap.
Really?
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
But it might just be because it smells old-fashioned.
Okay, so it doesn't really. Although you're reasonably well versed in a lot of different types of fragrance, you're not someone who just wants everything to smell like Bleu de Chanel or Sauvage.
Absolutely not. Yeah.
Even so, though you respect the art of perfumery from the old days or whatever, this one doesn't do it for you.
No, not really.
Okay. Fair enough. That's it. For me, I really find it really interesting.
I do find that it's a real classic barbershop scent, and that lovely oak moss, that real old school vibe about this one really appeals to me. But I can see that it's probably not something I would reach for, to please other people. So I get your point. So one for collectors of that kind of fragrance, but there's reasons why either the modern version or the vintage are not in Jeremy fragrance videos. Moving on then. So let's have a look at one from, we're going to go with this one next. So this is Monsieur de Givenchy, and it's the Haute Concentration version. So Monsieur de Givenchy was originally released in 1959. Then I think it was in 83 that they brought out a slightly higher concentration version in this funky old bottle here. And so the notes on this one include citrusy notes. There's lavender, and again there's some oak moss, but it's more of a citrus aromatic or a chypre type fragrance rather than an aromatic fougere. So perhaps a bit more freshness. But I would love to hear what you think about that version of Monsieur de Givenchy.
Yes, so this is more pleasing to my nose. It still smells a little bit old-fashioned.
Yeah,
I can smell lemon as a very dominant note. Kind of reminds me a little bit of lemon sherbets.
Yep, I think you've said that before when you've tried that one, yeah.
Lemon sherbets in a bowl with some green leaves.
Yep, I'm liking it, yep.
Yeah, that is much more pleasing. It still smells a little bit old-fashioned, but not as old-fashioned as the Paco Rabanne. This one, if you were wearing it, if someone walked into the office tomorrow wearing this and I could smell them, I would think they smelled quite pleasant.
Right.
I'll be curious about what fragrance they're wearing, and I wouldn't assume it was an old vintage fragrance.
Ah, you wouldn't necessarily.
No, it does smell a bit old school, but if I smelt it on someone today, I wouldn't necessarily think it's old school.
Okay, so you can't get this version very easily except on eBay, but you can find the Monsieur de Givenchy Eau de Toilette version on in the Parfums Mythique series. You can buy it on eBay and other more, what do you call them, discounters and that kind of place. Not in many retailers on the actual brick and mortar side of things, but you can still get Monsieur de Givenchy in the normal, not super concentrate version, and it's similar to this. This has a bit more oomph and a bit more oak moss. So a bit of a thumbs up. Moving on then. We've got some really exciting stuff next, because we've got Balenciaga Poron, which I mentioned in a video when I did a video sponsored by Fragrance Samples UK, which is a great place to buy fragrance samples in the UK and elsewhere around the world. And I'm going to put a code down there for 10% off if you do want to go through there. They have a really, really great range of niche stuff and designer stuff, and also some of these discontinued gems, which I wouldn't have been able to try were it not for Fragrance Samples UK. I decided to buy a 30ml for about £40 of Balenciaga Poron. And this is a real powerhouse. It was released in 1990. But it really looked back to the 80s more so than forwards to the 90s, and it's a powerhouse often compared to things like Yves Saint Laurent's Kouros and indeed Ted Lapidus Poron, but a little bit harder to get hold of because it's long discontinued, unlike those which you can still buy. It was also apparently the first designer fragrance to feature the note of oud, other than Arabian fragrances. Apparently so. I haven't verified that.
I haven't detected it when you showed it to me last time.
It doesn't seem to be a standout note, but there are quite a few notes that will stand out. So what do you think?
Yeah. Okay, I can see why it gets compared to Kouros. It does have that toilet cleaner smell, like that.
I never agree with this toilet cleaner thing or urinal cake. I never agree.
It smells a little bit like toilet cleaner and piss.
I
like
don't
the toilet
think
cleaner
so.
dominates, but it's covering up, not brilliantly, the smell of piss. And some kind of sharp citruses, some sharp green grass. I don't think modern day man should be wearing this.
Right. Okay.
Not if you're looking to impress.
No.
It's not a scent you could just wear to the office.
But I probably, although I'm much more, I like this one a lot more than you. I would agree that it probably wouldn't be a daily wearer in the modern world, you know.
When would you wear that fragrance?
For my own pleasure, I really have enjoyed.
So when you're pleasuring just yourself.
I wouldn't put it quite like that, but yeah, when I'm on my own and I just want to smell something that's a real artwork, a piece of art of a fragrance.
But you wouldn't wear that to the pub.
Maybe if I was feeling in a really, you know, bold mood, I might do actually.
Okay.
But obviously, I know you're not going to appreciate it. I know many other people will think it seems a bit musty. It's got a wonderful kind of oak moss note. There is again some honey and cinnamon type notes in there as well. There's a sweetness, isn't there, and definitely a muskiness.
It might be the honey then that's coming off a little bit pissy.
And perhaps there are some animalic kind of notes with the musks.
Yeah, and there is a sweetness. Maybe
castoreum, that kind of thing. But it really has this powerful masculine rugged air. Wonderful bottle, and I think it's a really fantastic work of art.
I still prefer it to the Paco Rabanne.
Ah, okay.
I feel like it's more refined than that.
Ah, there you go. So it's a real interesting masterpiece fragrance for some people. But yes, of course, realistically, if you're looking to get compliments, it's a little bit.
That's not going to happen.
Jarring for most people. So more for us fragrance collectors and aficionados. I think it smells great, but it just goes to show, you know, tastes change, and you know, you can see someone wearing a really nicely tailored suit from the 1970s with flares and a ridiculously large collar,
shoulder pads.
Yeah, and it does still, you know, you can say that was good design. Someone knew what they were doing, but you wouldn't go out wearing it now.
No.
So I guess this is one of those, but I still really like it. So
yep.
That's your opinion on that one. We have 2 to go. 1992 saw the release of Safari from Ralph Lauren. Safari for men. And this one, again, has a certain ruggedness. We have some lavender in there. There's a little bit of a barbershop feel. There's definitely some oak moss in there. And there's a kind of soapy cleanness in the opening as well, and quite a lot of patchouli, which I know isn't one of Claire's favourite notes. One of the best bottles ever. This is the old Cosmere vintage formula before it was changed to the rather weakened modern formula. So I pre-sprayed it. Vintage Safari.
Okay.
If you need a bit more, I can spray a bit more.
No, that's fine. Different to what you've shown me so far. It's more subtle.
Yep.
It's woodsy, it's musky, clean. It doesn't smell really old-fashioned or outdated, but it doesn't smell like a modern release either, because it's not got any sweetness to it.
Agreed, yeah.
I don't pick out any citrusy notes. I'm just getting musks and woods and just a general cleanliness almost. Not exactly soapy, but just a clean smell. Absolutely fine. It wouldn't excite me.
Okay.
But if someone walked past wearing that, I'd think, he smells like he just got out of the shower.
Oh, okay.
He smells good.
Right. So that's the most positive one so far. As we've moved forward in time, maybe things have got a bit. And I really like this one. Definitely, yeah, got that clean, a little bit of a clean, fresh smell about it, but perhaps more depth and a bit more woodiness and patchouli
lots of woods and musk, but it doesn't smell like there's an overdose of patchouli in there. I can handle a touch of patchouli in fragrances. It's when it reaches a certain level, it just gets too much for me, and I'm like, oh no, I don't like it.
So you find that okay?
Yeah.
But
very pleasant, absolutely fine. Like it's not rocking my world, but anyone that was in my, what do you call it, in my space,
yes,
and they smelt like that, I would think they smelt very pleasant,
very
clean.
Does rock my world a bit more than yours, just because I get a bit more excited about these old school smells. Really nice, and it's got that. It's got oak moss. You know, perhaps before they couldn't use oak moss, and it has that little bit more ruggedness than you get in a masculine smell today. So we both agree that's quite good. Finally, then, one that I know Claire does actually like, and this is Vintage Lamar from Jean-Paul Gaultier. So we're not sure of the exact year, but I think you were reliably informed, weren't you, when you bought this one, Claire, that if it has a sticker on the bottom like that,
it's pre.
Yes, the cat's going to photobomb us.
Come on, sweetie. It's pre-reformed.
Yes, it's probably been reformulated a few times, but it's before it got really weak and it still had the oomph that it came out with.
I think it's 90s, but I'm not sure. It's like 92 or...
Well, no, the fragrance was released in 95.
Oh, okay.
So
that's wrong then.
I think yours is more early 2000s.
Right.
I'm not sure.
I think it's late 90s, from memory. But anyway,
it's before the fragrance, in some people's eyes, became a little bit weakened, and it's really, we've got it on my hand there, and you're really familiar with this one.
Yeah, I love it.
Very pungent. Do you think? How do you think it smells? What is it you like about this one?
I think I love the freshness of the mint and the sort of green aspects of it, and I love the musky. It's almost like a texture to the. I think it's the cardamom. It's just so smooth and fresh, but it's completely different to anything else out there.
It is rather instantly recognisable, isn't it? You smell that. Normal person doesn't pick up lavender, mint, whatever, but it's Lamar.
Yeah.
And it's really got that factor. Bit synthetic smelling, do you think?
Probably,
I find it.
But
not in a bad way, but it's.
I love it. I wear this. This is my bottle.
Yeah.
I wear it here and there. I sometimes layer it with Neroli Portofino or other Neroli fragrances
to freshen it up even more.
Yeah, just to. But it's super fresh. That lovely minty opening's gorgeous, and then that musky cardamom dry down, beautiful.
Brilliant. And so that's the one if which one do you like best?
That's the one I love. I love that.
So these were all vintage bottles of old formulas. You can see Claire gave us some good insights into them, but a lot of them don't seem to work with ladies these days. But Lamar may do. But you may need the vintage formula because this one performs really well, doesn't it?
I think they've
weakened it a bit. So let us know what you thought about these vintage gems. It was great to have you join us and talk about these fragrances.
Thanks for having me.
It was a pleasure. And we'll see you in the next video really soon. Remember, whatever you're doing in life,
let's project.
Bye-bye.
Bye.